Hey everybody, welcome to Small Time World. I'm your host, Small Time Hero. Let's talk Fantastic Four First Steps. So over the weekend, I was actually able to see Fantastic Four First Steps, and honestly, I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I thought it was really, really good. I thought it was like exceedingly solid. Like honestly, if that's a critique, I thought it was exceedingly solid. Where I did have some things that I walked out of the theater saying, I don't think they were critiques. I just think that they were like little things where I was just like, well, how does that happen, or what made that happen. So those were those things. But outside of that, I thought it was a really good movie. I thought it was solid. A lot of people had issues with it, and I'm gonna discuss like those things and what. So as far as critiques go, I would say I don't necessarily have any critiques for the movie itself. I just had like things where I was just like, whoa, like that was crazy. Now I will okay, I do have a critique. The CGI baby. But I just feel like that's just a given. Like CGI and a baby is just hard. We learned that with Twilight, like, and Renesmee looked like shit. So, so I just think that that's one of those things where it's just like that with the baby it's gonna be hard to CGI it, and it looked like a CGI baby for the most part. I mean, there were steps in like I know it took a month for the whole world to build like the jump points, but the baby would seem like it was like 2-3 months after they had had the baby and went to go see Galactus. But we're gonna get into all of that, so let's not jump ahead. Let's not jump too far ahead. Okay, so let's talk about the things that I walked out of the theater saying. So the first critique that I walked out of the theaters was saying was like I felt like Sue Storm was superbly modern. If that movie was set in 2025, that would have been a perfect Sue Storm. Vanessa Kirby Sue Storm would have been a perfect Sue Storm. She was strong. She was confident. She used her powers in ways that we have never seen Sue Storm use her powers on screen. With Jessica Alba, everything just seemed like it was hard or like rushed or like she didn't know how to control her powers. But this is a fully like in control Sue, and I love that. But I also feel like she was more modern than the rest of the cast. While I feel like Joseph Quinn's um Johnny Storm was dead on. I thought it was a great Johnny Storm for 1960. In contrast to Vanessa Kirby's 2025, like Vanessa Kirby's modernism. Like I guess we all know what a 1960s woman would essentially look like or behave like because it's well documented. So that part of it was a little hard for me because like it's well documented, but yeah, it's like well documented. So that part of it was a little hard for me to take in. But like outside of that, like with Joseph Quinn's Human Torch, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, we don't get the Playboy, Human Torch that we got with Chris Evans' Human Torch." But I felt like Joseph Quinn gave off 1960s Playboy. Like we're not talking about somebody who is like broed out because like truthfully, Chris Evans Johnny Storm was a bro. He was a frat boy. Like it was very much so of the era. And I felt like Joseph Quinn's Johnny Storm was of the era. I felt like it was a really good understanding of what that era meant for a ladies' man, which was usually just like a guy who was like in their 20s who hadn't like proposed or still kind of bachelorhood type situation. I also loved the thing in this movie in comparison to Michael Chiklis's thing, and I honestly loved Michael Chiklis's thing. Like I was one of those people that was just like, I don't think that's a weird statement, but Ben Grimm, Michael Chiklis is Ben Grimm. Yeah, so I liked Michael Chiklis's Ben Grimm. I thought it was a good like Ben Grimm. I loved it. Like I really don't hate the Fantastic Four of the first movies. So I was comparing a lot because I enjoyed those. But Michael Chiklis's Ben Grimm was really good for me. So to watch Baccarat's Ben Grimm, I felt like it was amazing. Like I thought he gave this different portrayal of Ben, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm a jock, da da da. It was like this sweet but stern rock person who you like. I loved seeing him. Yeah, like I truly love this Ben Grimm. Like it was a very complicated character, And nobody in this movie was like just super duper broed out. Like everybody was very much so compassionate. Even Reed, who I feel like a big part of Reed's personality is that he is a person who isn't like that in touch with his emotions. He's like more science brained. I, for lack of better words, he doesn't actually see emotions as a thing. Like, and that was like a big issue with Sue and Reed, like their marriage within the comics. Like, he wasn't very emotional. He was very scientific. So, like, to see that emotional side of Reed Richards was a different Reed, but definitely good. I loved it. The emotional stakes of this movie were very, very high. So, like, truthfully, the casting I thought was amazing. I loved Herbie. I I'm a Herbie fan, like from the cartoon, so I love seeing him like in live action. I thought that was such a cool detail. Okay, so so let me just say that outside of Sue's modern like take they took for Sue, I also the birth scene was fucking crazy. I am a mother. I've given birth. I went into labor and that shit was like, "Oh my fucking god, what the fuck are they doing?" Like she's literally like levitating over a, cuz there's no gravity. So she's literally levitating over like a island or like a table in a rocket and he's like, "Nah, we need gravity for her to be able to push." Okay, so they decide that they gonna get gravity by doing a slingshot maneuver around the planet, and so this supposedly gives the rocket gravity in order for her to push. Mind you, it took one push. It took one push for her to get that big ass baby out. Because when that baby came out, that baby was not an infant. That baby was like 2 3 months old. And I know that Sue Storm is a superhero, so maybe she got a super pussy. I don't know. Maybe she got the super thing. But like that shit was crazy. Like and here's the thing. There are women who literally have babies and labor isn't hard. They dance through labor, they do all kind of things through labor. So that's not what I'm saying. Like that's not that I'm not saying it's not possible to do hard things through labor. I just would not want to fucking do it. That shit was scary as hell. And I'm watching a movie and I'm just like, "Oh my god, bro, what the fuck? What the hell?" And then Julia Gardner as Shia LaBeouf reaching into, like, literally reaching into Sue's womb was like even more like for me. I was just like, oh my god, the baby. Like it just was a lot. Like as a person who's had a child, watching a lot of the scenes was tough for me. I will say that. But I did really, really love this movie. We can move on to Julia Gardner's Silver Surfer. So I thought Julia Gardner's Silver Surfer Shia LaBeouf was really, really good. First of all, I never actually got to see her face on. I only saw like side like profiles, or like if you see her face on, it's a little bit like blurred. But for the most part, like I never actually got to see her whole face. And so when I actually got to see her whole face as Shia LaBeouf, I was like, "Oh my god, she looks freaking amazing." Even the like the VFX of her like becoming that metallic film, like the metallic film coming over her, like she looks really great. And like the whole time I was like, I know it's supposed to be Julia Gardner from Ozark, but like I don't recognize this person as I'm watching the trailers. But then as the trailers go on and everything, I'm like, "Oh, okay. I see it." And well, not as the trailers go on, as I'm watching the movie goes on, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I see it." And I'm like, "Oh, she looks great." So I love the Silver Surfer. I also like, this is going back to the Sue Storm modernism take. I just feel like with Sue telling Johnny like, "Johnny, she's trying to kill your nephew, go kill her." Like that was just really like, whoa, okay. I mean, like, I don't know. It was just interesting. I will say it was interesting, but I won't say it wasn't good. Like I like that moment. Johnny becoming a linguist and talking to Shia LaBeouf in her own language, I thought was such a cool fucking detail to give to Johnny, because I feel like that's what makes you a 1960s ladies man. He went and he learned that shit, and he was like, "No, I'm finna get this bitch. She gonna understand me." And I felt like that exemplified him being like literal like ladies man. I felt like anyway, and I thought it was like really cool because at that point you're like, oh, okay, so Johnny's smart too. Like the whole family is smart, and I enjoyed that. I thought because I mean the Fantastic Four should be smart, and Johnny Storm isn't an idiot in the comics, so I mean he do some weird stuff, but he's not an idiot in the comics. So I definitely felt like that was a nice touch for the movie. Whew. Okay, so let's talk about Galactus. First of all, Galactus was motherfucking huge. I mean, you don't even really get a grasp of how big this nigga is. I mean, how big this guy is until he leans forward. Like it was literally like his whole body leaned forward. You're like, oh shit. Cause like at first I'm like, them look like the Watcher eyes, which I guess that's just what cosmic eyes look like in the MCU. But yeah, so like I'm looking and I'm like Galactus, like like that nigga's huge, but also you see the spores on his back where like the planet is turned into the planet is actually turned into matter and he consumes the matter. That's how he eats through the spores in his back. I thought that was cool to show those details and like show like them moving and things like that to show that they're not actually attached to him like Doc Ock or anything like that. I thought that was really cool. I personally want to know what the fuck Galactus wants to do with a baby. Like I understand like the baby's supposed to hit like take over for Galactus once Galactus is done and he's supposed to have this hunger and he has the power cosmic, which I also want to touch on. But also like if you take this baby right now, who the fuck finna raise this baby? Like I just didn't understand that part. Like who was it? The Silver Surfer? Was she gonna herald you new planets while feeding your ass and take care of the baby and feed the baby? Like what were they going to feed the baby? Like I'm just saying, like Galactus, like I want this baby. He's not saying I want to get rid of the baby because it's destined to take over my place and do terrible things. He's just like, no, I want that baby so he can replace me. God, bro. I guess my whole thing is just like, what exactly are you planning to do with this baby? And why do you need the baby now? Like you're like, give me the baby now and I'll spare your planet. What you gonna do with the baby? The baby is tiny and it's smaller than human or like a grown adult. So like you definitely can't hold that motherfucker. So I just did, and then that was something that really also irritated me. The baby was like crawling, and I'm like, this baby's only a month old. How's the baby crawling? But anyway, so like maybe well, I do plan to go see the movie again, so maybe I'll understand like the timeline a little bit better once I see the movie again. But yes, so like that was such a weird thing for me with the Galactus wanting the baby like right now. Like why do you want the baby right this second? Like that makes no sense. But moving on past that, like past Galactus actually wanting the baby, let's talk about that miniature set that Galactus stood on. That shit looks so cool. So a lot of Galactus's things around him were made from like it was like physical sets and of course uh VFX and different things like that, but it was a combination of those things and I thought it looked so good. And like him when he steps down on New York City, like the everything shakes and it's just like I'm just like, oh wow, that looks crazy. And like initially seeing it in the trailer, I was like, okay, but like seeing his foot step down, I thought was like insane on a large scale. It was so cool. Galactus looks so great. I love Galactus. Um, I really, really liked Mole Man. I thought it was fucking hilarious that he was giving Reed shit, and then Reed was like, "All right, fuck this shit, nigga." I'm like, like Reed like legit broke. Like he was like, a lot of people also are upset because Reed told everybody that Galactus wanted their child. And personally, I just think he was in shock. Like after everything happened with like meeting Galactus, actually seeing the huge humongous kaiju that is Galactus, and then, moving forward, like you trying to get away from the Silver Surfer, you got to take her through a black hole. So you like he's literally computing. And so I just feel like that was shock. he was in shock. He was in shock that they made it. He was in shock that it happened. He was in shock at the size of Galactus. Like he just truly was in shock. And I don't think that, any of them had a better answer. They probably wouldn't have answered, but they definitely didn't have a better answer in that situation. So I thought that was like interesting. Not interesting. I thought that was like the reason why he said that. I thought because he was shocked. Truthfully, just shocked. So move past that. Um Sue. Now, I did say that I love the fact that Sue was super comfortable in her abilities. And to watch that final battle was like, oh my God, she is really comfortable and she is going to go ahead and take care of Galactus. He is not gonna fuck with her child. I love that. I thought that was so momish. Like it was like, yeah, man. Cause when somebody messes with your child, it's one of those things. It's almost primal. So for Sue, it was literally primal. The only difference between Sue and another mom is that she has powers. And I thought it was, one of those situations where Johnny was gonna take out Galactus, and he was gonna be the savior. But truthfully, it was actually Shia LaBeouf. I thought that was dope. I didn't think that Johnny actually got like to her, because I mean she had been doing this heralding thing for so long, and I don't know if you know like the history of Norrin Rad, but like within the history of like Norrin Rad in those situations, like yeah, Shia LaBeouf has been like feeding Galactus for a very long time. So I never saw her turn a heel on Galactus. Like I didn't see that. But glad it happened. Let's talk about the Franklin Richards of it all. So when Galactus noticed that Franklin was in Sue's womb, he said that Franklin would actually have the power cosmic. Now, my issue with that is just that why would Franklin Richards have the power cosmic unless Galactus doesn't have a word for what his power is capable of? If you don't know, Franklin Richards' abilities are basically he's able to warp realities, make his own realities, make pocket realities, pocket dimensions, different things like that. He's a reality warper, but he's also classified as an Omega level mutant, meaning like X-Men mutants. So them saying that he has the power cosmic, maybe I just feel like that's what Galactus calls it, because once again we're in a universe where the mutants haven't been like added, or they're not part of it yet. So he doesn't necessarily have a word for reality warping mutant. He just says, okay, if he can warp reality, then he has to have the power cosmic. Like that's just all I see. Like I don't think Jack Shackman would actually go into this. I think it's Matt Shackman. I don't think Matt Shackman would go into this and change what like literally Franklin Richards is. Like I think that would be a lot. Like for him to go in and change the actual like what he actually is, because then it would be weird. I mean, we're getting ready to introduce the mutants, so it just follows along, and then you got the Young Avengers and all of those things. So I would hope that they would not make Franklin Richards like just this, person with powers or from like power cosmic, and they would actually make him a proper mutant, because that's where he belongs. And I'm an X-Men fan, so I'm gonna be really really upset if Franklin Richards isn't a mutant. Not to say that he is on the X-Men, but he does help. Like he goes, he's a mutant. So yes, I do think that that is a really big deal. So I hope that they don't mess that up. I really hope they don't mess that up. Let's talk about that mid credit scene. So there is a mid credit scene, and at the end there is an end credit scene, but it's like the cartoon from the show, the cartoon from the movie, excuse me. But in the end credit scene, we actually see this eerie situation where Sue is actually reading to Franklin. He is 4 years old, so it's been 4 years since everything has happened, which at least we get a real timeline with that. So he's 4 years old, and Franklin is actually reading with Sue, and Sue goes to get Franklin a new book, and like the books that Franklin is reading. the books that the books that Franklin is reading. Excuse me. The books that Franklin Richards is reading are like books about being hungry, like the Hungry Hungry Caterpillar, and like consuming things. So I don't know, like they wrote in that eerie possibility right there. But then you hear this boom, you hear like this sound, and she walks back into the conversation pit, which is what that is, a conversation pit, and she sees Doctor Doom. Well, actually, we just see the back of a caped individual. We don't know who that is, and honestly, I'm still holding out hope that we get a Victor Doom proper for at least 828, because it does feel like 828 is going to stick around. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, because I do know after, Battle World, there's like one universe if they go that route. So I'm thinking that 828 might stick around. I'm not sure. But if 828 stick around, I'm hoping that that's actually Victor Doom proper and not Tony Stark's Victor Doom. But the fact that he had the mask off makes me feel like it's Tony Stark's Victor Doom. So we just gonna see. But yeah, we see Franklin touching Doom's face, and I just was like, that's so weird. It almost makes me feel like he knows Doom and they have a relationship. Cause like, even if Franklin was to show Doom something, like if Doom walked in and he's like, hey, show me, da da da. He's 4 years old. I have a 4 year old. She not gonna like, if she doesn't know you, she's not gonna like be like, okay, cool. She gonna like, Ma, what's going on? Like, cause literally Sue is in the other room. So yeah, like it was eerie, very very eerie, and I feel like it was supposed to be eerie. So I liked it. We're gonna see what the Russo brothers do. We do know that the Russo brothers actually shot that end credit scene while on Avengers Doomsday. So you know how that goes. They also mentioned that in the conversation pit, the color had changed. It had went from blue to now a red hue, and I think, excuse me, and I think that that's indicative of like maybe an 828 Avengers, because I can't see why else the carpet would be like that reddish orange hue, other than maybe a 828 Avengers. But ultimately, I really, really liked the movie. I just had a few gripes. I guess you can say there were gripes as the video went on. I kind of found out that I was like, eh. But ultimately, I enjoyed it. I really did. There were moments where I really sat up in my seat and was like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? So I'm gonna say I really enjoyed it. I liked Fantastic Four First Steps. 8.5, solid 8.5. Really ready to see what Marvel will build upon with this. Hoping that they, build upon this. And I'm excited. So yeah, we're gonna see. Hey guys, so like, subscribe, share this video, and make sure that you hit the bell for notifications so that you can get notified every time I upload a video. I know that my schedule is all over the place, so make sure you get those notifications so you know exactly when the videos come out. Come join me here because I will be going over Percy Jackson content. Of course, Saturday morning cartoons is coming. I'm working on it. I'm making it better for you guys. So once it comes out, you're gonna be like, oh, it's different things, different changes. So I am doing that for you guys. So subscribe, like, share with a friend. Let me know how you feel in the comments. I do respond. So yeah, let's build a community, guys.